Learn this afternoon's breaking news surrounding Anthony Gordon, as we are readying a 60 million bid to sign the Everton winger. And to end things, we have even bigger stories to discuss by talking about the big news surrounding Rafael Leao, as the club have encouragement now to make an incredible move for the player before the window ends. Wow. If you like today's video, smash a like button and please share your thoughts and opinions on these stories below in the comment section too. So right now, let's discuss the latest news currently surrounding Anthony Gordon. Now, every single massive UK media outlet are confirming the same thing. I'm talking about figures like On Scene, The Times, Sky Sports, and it seems like we are about to present an offer of up to 60 million to Everton to sign Anthony Gordon. Now, last week we had our first official bid rejected at £45 million, and this new offer that's about to be presented is set at around 50 million plus 10 million in add-ons as well too. With this amount of money, can Everton really turn this bid down? Everton fans themselves are a bit surprised by how much money we are willing to spend on Anthony Gordon, and they're more than happy to accept this fee to reinvest back into their squads. Now, currently, after making our intentions now to sign Anthony Gordon, it does seem like Tottenham might be coming back now to make some more efforts to try and entice the player away from us. Now, originally, they tried to make bids to sign Gordon, but they weren't willing to go past £35 million. So the fact that we're more than willing to pay nearly close to double that amount that Spurs originally valued Gordon at is an insane amount of money. And when you consider that Anthony Gordon has played around 50 Premier League games, in his breakthrough season last season, he scored around 4 goals for them. It's quite clear that he's a guy of, nice potential and promise, but it's an insane amount of money to spend on someone that's played less than 100 Premier League games. Now, originally Michy Batshuayi was discussed as a make-weight in this deal. However, it was decided at Everton that Lampard does not feel like Michy's style actually complements what he wants at Everton. Instead, Lampard would be very interested if Armando Broja was offered on loan for the season, as he feels like he can definitely work with a forward like this. And I have to put this question out here. With Aubameyang close to signing for us right now, realistically, this dramatically reduces the game time for Armando Broja, because here's the honest reality. If you really believe in Broja, you would not be making a move for Aubameyang at this point in time. So could we end up offering Broja on loan to Everton for the season? And could that potentially reduce the final valuation to persuade Everton to sell Gordon? Time will tell, but let's continue to watch this space. Anyway, it does seem like Mohamed Kudus from Ajax, a very technical, skillful Ghanaian player, is seen as the replacement for Gordon if he does get sold in the end. But Everton need to raise the funds now, so realistically they need to decide if they will accept this offer we are about to present. Gordon wants to sign for us. He's made that very clear now to the figures at Everton. So now it comes down to Everton and whether they're ready to play ball. So right now I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and opinions behind this latest news in Anthony Gordon. And for me, it does feel like an insane amount of money to spend. After seeing our recent game against Leeds United, it's not the first time that we've seen the attack kind of struggle at times, depending on whether the game has gone away from us and whether we're behind in matches, for example. And my thing is, when an attack that consists of Mason Mount, Kai Havertz and Raheem Sterling are kind of struggling a tiny bit, how much is Anthony Gordon really going to add compared to these guys? Because even though some of the form may be a bit inconsistent currently, we can't pretend that these guys aren't serious football players. Let's not get that twisted. Now, it's believed that Tuchel sees him as an option to use as a right wing back at times, but I think due to Anthony Gordon's profile and actually his flexibility in playing in multiple positions, I feel like Tuchel could turn to Gordon to play a multitude of roles, maybe as a left wing back, winger, false nine, right wing back, etc, etc. But I guess for me, there is a feeling I have currently, and I don't know if I'm too impressed, to be honest. Of course, we can look at the current forms of your Pulisic, your Hudson-Odois, and we can judge them in isolation based on what we've seen from them at this point in time. But for me, it's a little bit deeper than that. We enticed Pulisic to sign, we fought off tons of competition to do so. We enticed Hudson-Odoi to sign by offering him a mega contract and turning down a move to Bayern Munich. For me, you need to have the individual in focus if you're putting in so much effort to sign these guys, and that means that you have to create the environment for them. You can help these guys develop and fulfill their potential if they have their set positions to play in. It doesn't help them if they're playing out of position as a wing-back option, support options and bench options when there's no concrete plan to really elevate their game and maximize on that original potential that you decide to spend that money on. So for us to then go to someone like an Anthony Gordon, who in my opinion, you know, his current ability was less than Hudson-Odoi's and Pulisic's back when they were younger. For more money than these guys costs, for me is very interesting. And it even gets me thinking, what would the game plan be to really maximize Anthony Gordon's game to take him to that next level? If history's shown that we are not consistently doing that with some of the top young stars that we signed all those years back, to not really have any plan for to maximize their game. You know, it helps when you have that set position to play in, to build off your confidence, improve on your role, to improve on how you play that position. And sometimes for me, I do feel like under Tuchel, his philosophy is based on the team, the collective, over individuals. And in any sport, in any field, in anything in life, it comes with pros and cons. And I think the con for me currently is the fact that it does come at the expense of younger players really maximizing their abilities and becoming superstars that we all originally thought they could become. Because if you're only fulfilling roles for the team, that's not going to help you improve your game and boost your level. Still, that's my personal concern that I'm sharing with you guys. At the same time, I still have that frame of mind to know that a mentality monster like Anthony Gordon, they can become anything they want to become. And I used that example previously on the video on him, talking about Frank Lampard, because when I was younger, I had no idea whatsoever that he'd eventually become the player he did. But when you actually look in his career, if Lampard did not have Ranieri in those crucial stages of his career, you know, constantly having that belief in him, still playing him when he played poorly and wasn't playing as well, would he have been ready then to work under a manager like Jose Mourinho, who then took his game to even greater heights? I'm not too sure. And for me, development is a two-way street of the individual, you know, being a professional and looking to maximize their talents, as well as a manager that is creating the right environments and conditions for these guys to fully grow to be the guys they can be. So let's see what happens with Anthony Gordon. But for this type of money, it seems absolutely mad to me, in my personal opinion. Share your thoughts and opinions below. You don't have to agree with me whatsoever. How do you feel about us potentially signing and getting very close to getting Anthony Gordon? So right now, we end things with a massive report that's got me so excited. And it's time to talk Rafael Leao of AC Milan. Now, this report came from Duncan Castles, who was reporting in the Times. So now I want to put this disclaimer out there at this point in time. A lot of times with journalists, they are the mouthpieces for agents and higher up figures in football. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're lying and making things up, absolutely not. It just means that the end goal of these stories might not be what was originally alluded to when these stories first come out, if you know what I'm saying. So now that you guys have that disclaimer in the back of your heads, let's now discuss the latest reports surrounding Rafael Leao. Now, Castles does report that currently we are working on a deal to sign Leao. He reports that the player is keen on making a move to the Premier League, naturally where you're leveling up your salary, you're playing in a more competitive league and have a higher chance of winning the biggest honours in football as well too. Now, I'm sure that the first thoughts that all of us had when we heard Rafael Leao was thinking this could be the perfect opportunity to add players as a makeshift to bring the valuation of this deal over the line and actually encourage AC Milan to sell. And you're thinking the right things, my friends, because Duncan Castles is reporting the very same thing, and it's believed that we could even offer up to 2 players to AC Milan to get this deal over the line. So you're looking at your options like your Hudson-Odois, your Pulisic, your ZX, your Alonso, so many of these guys. Let's hope and wait for an official offer to be made for Leao. So now, let's discuss something that I brought up in a previous video discussing Leao, and let's talk about his current legal predicament with CAS. As we know, when he rescinded his contract at Sporting Lisbon, which was entirely due to Lisbon fans abusing and attacking the players, he rightfully feared for his safety and thought that Lisbon was not the club for him to grow at and to improve as a player. So he had to do what was best for him. He left on a free, rescinded his contract, signed for Lille, and then once he signed for Lille, he then made a move to AC Milan. Now, basically because Lisbon lost out on money, it meant that they took him to court, basically to CAS, and they gave him a fine and punishment where legally Leao still owes Sporting Lisbon 16.5 million euros. So to pay for that penalty, currently 25% of his wages is still going back to Sporting Lisbon. And this is where we come into play, because we've made it very known that we're more than happy to pay the difference owed to Sporting Lisbon to get this deal over the line. So for me, this is an incredible commitment to the player, and knowing that you can exponentially improve your salary demands and not have to worry about this debt owed to Sporting Lisbon, it does make us a lot more enticing and a lot more attractive. Still, to paint the full picture, let's discuss Leao's move from Lille to AC Milan. Lille are owed about 20% of any profits from his sale, so basically it means that you minus the cost that Milan pay for him from whatever fee that we might end up paying for Leao, and then Lille will earn a fifth from whatever the profits are from his sale. So this is where things are interesting. He currently has a 150 million release clause in his deal. His contract expires in 2024. As I really stress all the time, when players have 2 years left in their deals, this is normally the best time to sign them and make moves. And it's reported by Duncan Castles that Milan are more than happy to receive a fee between 90 to 95 million euros. So that's around 75 to 8 million pounds. And when you consider that Anthony Gordon could potentially cost 60 million, to pay an extra 15 to 20 mil for a much better player in my opinion, it does look to be a bit more of a bargain compared to signing someone like Anthony Gordon. But that's only my opinion. Now, with the great relationship that Boehly currently has with Jorge Mendes, we already know about that infamous meeting they had back in Lisbon a few months back now, where it was an opportunity for Boehly to build a relationship with Mendes and to discuss some of his best clients under his books, with Leao being one of the key players discussed in those meetings. Now, Milan currently are trying to get him to extend his contract. There have been a few difficulties behind that. The player hasn't fully committed at this point in time. Milan are hoping to up his salary offer, and their plan is to increase his release clause from 150 million to whatever fee they have in their heads. But realistically, if he could make the move away from Milan now and sign for us, the amount of money he'd earn would be way greater compared to what Milan could pay, and your debts are covered as well too. Can we do the impossible here? I'd be very curious to see so, but even though the window is drawing to an end, normally due to this, it really accelerates everything. It does mean that things speed up and decisions get made a little faster, so it's not impossible whatsoever. Leao started the season for Milan a bit slow, but in that recent game versus Atalanta, he really came back a lot more and put a lot of fear in them and actually produced a red card for one of the Atlanta players that I can't remember at this point in time. Knowing the fact that massive clubs like your Barca's, Madrid's and others are showing interest, for me, I'm getting like Kai Havertz vibes, where if you can take advantage of there being no competition, now is the time to do so. And when there's money in the bank to sign players that some of us are a bit confused by, surely you'd spend that money on someone like Rafael Leao, knowing that this is someone that elevates the team and can take you to the next level. When you break down Leao's game, the guy can play up front by himself, with a partner. He can play as a left forward, a right forward, and he can play as a winger on either side as well too. I'd love to think that we're not going to sign to play as some crazy wingback, some dumb wingback. That would make no sense. And if we were able to pull off a Mazza, the impossible, for me, it would simply have to come down to this. It's time to start prioritizing our better players, our offensive players, and create a system, or not even create a system, but tweak the system to favor the better players. Because for me, I'm more than happy to concede a few more goals if it means that we can start to take advantage of the attacking talent we have, that I have all the faith in Justin can be the difference makers and adds more goals and assists to this team. That is what's stopping us right now. Playing as this complete team and unit all the time. For me, it comes down to this. A lot of our victories then become very tactical reliant. They become reliant on what Tuchel does with his pre-match preparation and his in-game management. Sometimes when you look at other teams like your Bayerns, your Madrids, etc, they have that tactical framework, but the framework is there to heighten the players and allow them to express themselves. Because remember, you're paying top money to sign players who are better than the other players around them in the league. So if you do that, it means that you have to allow them to express themselves a bit more and not be so team reliant, because we've had a bit of an indifferent start to the season. And one fear I do have is that I'm hoping that we're not seeing the results now of, players who can't maintain that level of intensity and that level of performance playing in more rigid structures, because it's starting not to make as much sense now. And it does feel like opponents and opposition feel a lot more confident playing against us. And listen, this system works in the biggest games, but you're not going to play against your Liverpools every single week. If you can't beat your Leeds Uniteds and teams around that level, your Brightons, etc, we will never ever win any league titles whatsoever. The only way to do so is by embracing some of the individual talent a bit more and not having these guys lose that part of themselves, because we're so overly reliant on the system at all times. But that's my thoughts and opinions. Share yours below. Do you think Leao can get signed? And if you think so, do you even like Leao to begin with? So you guys, on that note, I'm going to wrap things up. I'm the EFC, this is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.